Sophukd, and I'm here with OTEP. How's it going?
It's going very well, thank you.
So this is a stop on your the first stop on your tour.
It is. It is the first show of the Seduce and Destroy tour.
How excited? How stressful has today been?
Not stressful at all. It's been actually really smooth, which is rare for first days. Usually first days are really crazy, so I just keep expecting like the ceiling to cave in or something, something crazy to happen. But, this we've got a lot of great bands with us. Everybody's professional, so they're doing their jobs and they're here to, wreak as much havoc as we can, and it's been great so far. We love Sacramento too. We love this area, so it was really awesome to be able to start our tour here.
What's your most memorable moment from Sacramento?
Right now. This is it right here.
Last thing you remember?
Yeah.
Right
Last
now?
thing I remember is right now. Yeah. Now like a goldfish memory.
Yeah.
Where am I? Sorry.
What's going on right now?
I don't know.
What's that?
Hello.
Like?
I don't know. Yeah. Is it time? Okay.
So you have a new album out. Came out in January.
Hydra.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how's that going for you? Sales going good?
I'm not sure. I know that it's been well received by the fans, and that really is all that matters to me. I mean, with the way that people pirate records these days, record sales tend to mean a lot less, which is unfortunate because it does affect, we're sort of working class bands. We're like like middle class bands, and a lot of illegal downloading that helps out bands that aren't very well known, and it doesn't really affect the larger bands because a lot of their fans still buy their music. Middle class bands, like working class bands, underground bands like mine, subterranean bands like mine, they tend to get hit a lot harder. So we try not to focus so much on that because what really matters to me is how the fans receive it, and so far everybody's the vast majority of everyone has been really pleased and really enjoyed taking the journey that I wanted Hydra to take them on. It's like there's only been 2 albums out of the 6 that I've written that are similar to each other in this particular realm, and that's House of Secrets and Hydra. And they're both this sort of very dark, thematic, cinematic, theater of the mind kind of records. So that's very, very, I don't know. It was very important to me to write a record like this time around, and I'm real happy with it.
Yeah. Were you in like a certain place when you were thinking about developing this album the way you did?
Yeah. The record itself was it's based on a graphic novel I was writing, and so when I started writing and I've been doing that for about 2 years, off and on because of touring and everything. But when I started writing the songs and I started sort of reviewing, because it's a very instinctive process for me. I just sort of go with the moment that's happening. And when I started to review what I was writing, it came very clear to me that I wasn't really writing these songs, that this character, this Hydra, was actually writing these songs, and it was her story. And so I just kind of surrendered to her, this darker, very, very dark seed within me, and allowed her to navigate and narrate the record. And it was really interesting to sort of allow something that you've created take over. And because it's still me, right? It's still part of me, but it's the part of me that we, as normal, well, kind of normal, abnormal, but, human beings suppress our savage nature. We may be in traffic and someone cuts us off, and in that moment we want to annihilate that person. We want to rip them to shreds, bloody shreds, But then, the angels of our delicate nature take over, and we realize, well, going to prison for that's not really a great idea, and who wants to deal with the insurance and the judge and the lawyer? No, I mean, just all the other things start to come about. Well, Hydra has no such morality. For her, it is about, more of a sort of a natural thing. She is an avenger. She doesn't believe that other killers have the right to do what she does. She thinks what she does is the cleansing of humanity, the lesser race, she calls them, is her job, not anybody else's. So she sort of goes after these other villains. And it was really interesting to have that. No barriers, to believe that, to understand those feelings and emotions, which I don't have. I mean, I believe, I'm sort of a fight against a bully, fight for justice and equality. And to turn that off and just let darkness overcome you was really, it's kind of stuck with me a little bit. It pollinated me a little. There's still a thorn in there, I think.
So
watch out.
How did she come about? Like, did you just one day think of her?
Well, you know, I think, yeah, she just kind of sprung up one day when I was
like a dream or like a drunken night, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna write this.
Yeah, I woke up and I'd written all these things, you know. Well, and that sometimes happens. I do wake up sometimes and I've written things in my sleep that I think are important. And I just want to get them out of my brain. Salvador Dali used to do that.
Yes, it's my favorite artist.
Oh, right on. Very good.
Well, you
have good taste. He would wake up from a dream and then immediately paint whatever he was dreaming, right, or take notes on it. And that's a good thing for writers and creators and artists to do. But with her, I don't know. I'd seen some videos online about these people that like to torture innocent animals. And I'm an animal rights activist, right? And there's times when I actually believe that animals have they have more rights or more morality than humans do, right? Because for them, it is about survival and all of that. So it's either yes or no. And but humans do these kind of thrill kills, it seems, you know, just for whatever deviant enjoyment they might get out of hurting something that's innocent. Yeah. And so I saw that, and that's where like voyeur came from. I saw a video, and I couldn't watch the whole thing of this person who was hurting these animals on YouTube. And actually the group Anonymous, they found him through his IP address, bravo, brought him to justice. But for me, that wasn't justice enough. You know, go to jail, fine, that's great. I'm sure he's going to have a brilliant time in jail because those guys don't like those kind of cats, you know, in there. But who knows how long he's going to be there. Meanwhile, he's got a yard full of holes where he's buried all these little cats and dogs that he'd stolen. So for me, the proper way to have disposed of him and gotten justice wasn't for me to go out and do it, because I don't want to go to prison. Angels. You know, yeah, there comes the angels coming down. But also because, you know, I think that that's what art's for. And I think we can learn something from art. And maybe someone that might have those tendencies might feel this song and recognize something in them, and maybe it'll change them. You know, or maybe it'll inspire somebody to get more involved in saving animals, or being more active about it, or just more aware. And that's great. But also, maybe they'll just enjoy a good story, and that's what it was about, you know. So she just, I don't know, she just rose up out of the depths, just like a good, you know, any kind of good story comes from. I try not to overthink it, and that's when I really make a lot of mistakes or become too prolific with writing. You just kind of, I feel like it's important to go off your instincts, you know, first.
So
that's what that means, instinct. Yeah, sorry.
That's no problem. Have you ever always been this, like, creative, outspoken type of person? Like, you can really just lay out what you have inside on paper, and a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah, I think that yeah, I mean, the first thing, I could draw before I could speak, you know. So that was my thing. My mom was a single mom, and she worked a lot, so to keep me busy, she would give me a pen and a paper, and I would just spend hours entertaining myself, and, you know, I guess bringing whatever realities I thought existed in here out here, you know, internal to external. And that's the way I've always kind of dealt with things that affected me emotionally, you know. Hey! Sorry. We're doing something in here!
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
So, do you still draw often?
I do. Yeah. And in the, you know, I'm an Irish girl, you know, so of course anything that comes easy to me, I kind of push aside, and I'll always go after the hardest thing for me. So like the easiest thing for me to do is be an illustrator. The easiest thing for me to do is paint or draw or scribble or whatever. So it's always a part of me. It's also sort of how I work out problems when I'm writing material, songs or books or whatever, poetry. Illustrations always come alive through that as well.
So do you have like a normal day job when you go home?
A normal day job?
Well, a day job. Other than being a rock star and
this is what I do.
Illustrator.
This is what I do. Yeah, I pour everything I have into this.
Right on.
Yeah.
So you were on...
Starving artist. Right on. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Well, you have to be.
Forever hungry.
That's right. That's right.
For success.
For whatever, for the next evolution, you know. I mean, I'm ambitious, of course. I definitely want to be seen and be heard, but I also want to evolve. I want to be challenged by other artists. I want to be challenged by myself, and I want to grow. You know, that's why I like to surround myself with good artists, people who are, I feel like, maybe better than me, or at least more talented than I am in certain realms, so I can learn from them. I don't ever want to get stagnant. I never want to feel like I've slowed down or stopped or plateaued. When that time comes, it's time to hang it up and just, you know, get a real what'd you say?
Day job.
Normal day job. Yeah. Welcome to
So-
Walmart. I'm just kidding.
Welcome to Walmart. What
Yeah.
can I get you?
Yeah.
So, how have you learned from your band members?
How have I learned?
Evolved.
Well, I just being around really creative people. I mean, I think if you
Feeding
don't
off
have,
each
you got to
other.
turn the ego off, and you have to just allow yourself to know that, wow, that is awesome, and let me be inspired by that. I know a lot of bands that, their individual members start to sort of swell up and build a fortress around themselves because they're a little bit intimidated by this person or by that person, and I don't think that's the right way to be. I think you should just be in awe of the people that you play with and in awe of the people that you write with and are surrounded by. And if you can't be that with those people, then maybe you're with the wrong people, or maybe you just need to shut off that insecurity and which is hard. I mean, it's a tough thing to do, but turn it off and just be open to the fact that you're around good people and those people make you better, and hopefully you're making them better. I mean, hopefully it's quid pro quo,
All right. So, on a different note,
Yeah.
what was your first tattoo?
My first tattoo was this wonderful yin and yang piece there. I was a big fan, and still am, of Natural Born Killers. And in that, Mickey and Mallory, they have the yin and yang tattoos. And I thought, oh, that's what I want. So I went to this guy, and he did it in his kitchen. And he told me he could do a good job. Unfortunately, he didn't do a great job of it, but I've kept it as sort of that kind of memory. I will say that I think if anybody is thinking about getting a tattoo, always make sure that it's going to be something that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life, because there are some, and I don't want to go into which, but there are some, like an ex-girlfriend perhaps, that don't mean anything to me anymore, and I still have her name tattooed on me. And those things, are, of course, they're reckoning back to a time of this or that and some good memories, but they're also, I don't want to explain it every day, and in every photograph and all that. But there's also other tattoos as well that they don't mean what they used to. And so I wish I had a different canvas now. I wish I could just peel some off and start over. Yeah.
Any regrets for that?
Salvador Dali. What? Of tattoos? Yeah. Yeah, I just said so. I wish I could peel them off and get others. I would start over with a blank canvas. I would get maybe some. I do have a Picasso piece that hasn't been finished yet, but I'd get maybe some Salvador Dali, maybe some Egon Schiele, some Max Ernst. I'd get some of those really good pieces so that I'd be like a walking museum, or a gallery or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what is your favorite artist? Who?
Those that I just mentioned. I mean,
Do you have a favorite piece?
Well, no, I don't, because different ones mean different things to me, at different times. There's I really got into the street art movement in Los Angeles. We had a real blossoming street art movement down there, and there were some really great artists that were just using the streets as their galleries, and so that was pretty swell. And then a lot of times, a lot of those pieces had meaning to them, and that was important. I think art should have meaning to it, So as long as it can motivate, inspire, or incite an opinion or an emotion or some sort of feeling, it changes you a little bit. I think you can call that art.
So you were part of the Deaf Poetry Jam for a while, correct?
I was on there twice.
How was that experience for you? Because you're with all these other poets.
Yeah. Well, I was. The first time was great. I was sick. I had food poisoning, so I'm glad they actually cut me from that episode. They only give you 2 minutes and 22 seconds, and there's no timer. So you just have to have this internal clock and this rhythm that you go with, and you think, because if you go over 2 minutes 22 seconds, they just cut you from the show. They have so many poets, and it's just like one after the other on the stage. And the second time I did it, I was ready. When I arrived there, and I'm thinking, I'm coming from the rock world, the extreme music world, and I thought I'm going to go and I'm going to meet some poets, and I'm going to have much more in common with these people than I do maybe the extreme music world, because not so many extreme musicians are into poetry. Not many people read Sylvia Plath or, Charles Bukowski or Baudelaire or something, but I could maybe talk to some poets and they'd get it. But they were so, when I first walked in, they were all very territorial and so very isolated. And they were asking me, what circuit did you do? And because they did, they have their own little tour circuits like we do. And I said, oh, this is only my first time really to do this. And and that I think bothered them a little. So they kind of kept me on the outside. They weren't sure what to think of me, I think. And then once I went out, and you walk out on this stage and it's quiet. I mean, it's bone quiet, church quiet out there. And they have all these boom cameras coming down, you know, and the stage is maybe only about 2 feet high. So you're almost eye level with everyone. And it's like going to church or something, you know. And walked out, and I heard, as soon as I got out there and I did the opening line, you have 7 more seconds to decipher your life before my tongue becomes a blade and your brain gets sliced. And there's like some giggles here and there, you know. And then I got into the poem and the rhythm, and then it comes to that, you know, the part where I like punch myself, right? And then there was like these audible gasps in the audience. And right then, I knew it. I had him.
It was his fucking fist into her fucking side.
And I finished the poem, and I remember walking back, and I was leaving, you know, because they like get off stage. You can't wait for applause lines. You got to keep talking. Mm-hmm. So I'm walking back, and Mos Def comes up, and I'm a big fan of his work, you know, because I think he's a real poet. And he comes up to me, and he like grabs my hand. He's trying to shake it, and I'm trying to get off stage because that's what he told you to do. But he's trying to hold me for a second, and he's got like tears in his eyes, man. And I was really moved by that. And I walked backstage, and all the poets gave me an applause line, and I was really, really like, wow, okay, I feel like I've earned their respect, and that meant a lot to me, you know. It's still one of the most, you know, that was a few years ago, and it's still maybe one of the highlights of my life to be able to do that, you know.
Yeah, you just gave me goosebumps right now. I'm like trying not to cry.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you looking forward, like, do you try to do stuff like that a lot? Like step outside of your comfort box, get out there?
Yeah, I mean, I try to. It's hard, you know. I mean, again, it's very difficult to step outside your comfort zone and to embrace new things, especially when you've been doing something and you're known for something for so long. I mean, people know me, OTEP. She's the girl that goes grr. She's the girl that's like this crazy, you know, working class liberal screamer, tell you to your face she hates Republicans and all that stuff, which I don't. I just don't like, you know, some Republicans.
Certain
you know.
ones.
Yeah, the ones that want to take away women's rights, the ones that want to send us back to the Stone Age, you know, the ones that want to take away voting rights and all that stuff, you know, the ones that want to raise working class taxes and lower taxes on the extremely wealthy so that they can afford another yacht or, you know, another jet or another penthouse in Cannes or, you know, in France or something, you know. But, you know, it's hard when you are that person to go out and be accepted in other places, you know, when I'm in Los Angeles, you know, I'm around other people and the extreme music scene isn't so widely known. We got a great scene there, but it's not so widely known outside of that. And when I do other things, there's always that moment of like, what are you? Who are you? What do you do? You know, you look a little scary with your neck tattoos and your voice is so deep and all, you know. But I think it's important to do that because you learn, you grow. You know, you have to those challenges are still very important. They build character. They keep your wits sharp, and you know, it makes you, I think, a better artist, a better person, and you know, all around, you know, better at everything, you know. And failure is important, I think, you know, to fail.
Yes.
You know?
Fall on your face a couple times. Keep getting back
you'll
up.
appreciate the victory a lot better.
Any plans to move in a different direction with your music, with your sound?
Well, you know, I've had some side project ideas for a long time, and I've never really done much with them because this project always keeps me busy because it is you know, it's everything to me. It's my life, you know. So it's always there. I'm always experimenting with different, you know, spoken word stuff and maybe spoken word to music. I did a new poem from my last book called Crawling Up.
Crawling up, over the lip, down the dune, through the ruins, from the dust and savage sand to the next craggy shaft of soggy loam, slipping back, down the sludge, gripping with fists coated in stinking mud.
And I did that, and I had like some guy that does dubstep, and he remixed it to dubstep, which is really cool. You know, I'm not a huge dubstep fan, but what he did with it was really awesome. His name's Donnie. Mm-hmm. He's a friend of my guitar player, Aristotle. And Aristotle also worked with another poem that I did, and my friend Tristan, he's worked with some stuff. So we've got some things we're always creating, we're always trying. But maybe, you know, I hope so. That'd be nice. Yeah.
Any acoustic stuff?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, people keep asking about that. Are you going to do an acoustic record? Are you ever going to do an acoustic anything? And we just never really have the time, but it would be nice to do something like that, I think. I think it would kind of shock people a little bit.
Big time.
But like, I mean, you think about, We Dream Like Lions. That song, that's basically an acoustic song. There's very little percussion in it. It's just really, an acoustic guitar and me, Yeah.
Okay, so like you said, you like to stand up for like certain rights. Do you do anything with like the LGBT?
Of course, yeah. I'm a member of the Human Rights Campaign. I am a member of Equality California, and I try to do what I can to get the word out that we are people, and people should be treated equally regardless of your preferences or whatever you consider a preference. I don't consider it's not a choice. We're not born this way. I didn't choose to have green eyes. I didn't choose to have blonde hair. I didn't choose to be right-handed. I didn't choose my height. I didn't choose my parents. I didn't choose my ancestry. I didn't choose my freckles. I didn't choose to be this awesome. I was just born this way, I didn't choose my voice. I mean, this is just what it is. And there's some people who they have a type. People just have a type, and that's just what it is. I mean, it would be much easier if I wasn't attracted to women. I mean, it's awesome. I love women, but it would be much easier for me if I wasn't. I mean, being an out person in extreme music has been very difficult. It's cost me tours. It's cost me managers who said, "Shut up, stop saying things. You're gonna, it's gonna affect your career." And I know so many people who are in positions of extreme public view, that are in positions of power, who are stars, who are celebrities. I'm a person of notoriety. I don't consider myself a celebrity, but people that know, you know them. Everybody in this room knows them, and they're gay, and they won't come out because they're afraid they're going to lose jobs, and it's going to affect them. And maybe, hey, good luck on you, man. Good on you that you can do that. But, there are people out there that don't have what you have and who are fighting for their very lives just to exist, their very right to exist. And you're this, like, gazillionaire, and you could actually just come out and say, hey, I am. What's the matter? You've been watching my movies. You've been buying my songs. You've been, So I've lost managers. I've lost, opportunities because people didn't want to tour with someone like me, and I didn't care. I stayed. I just
stay true to yourself.
I stayed true to myself and to the people that believe in me and have the courage to do what I do, and they don't have what I have. And I think that I owe them as much as as much as I can give them for that courage to come out and stay out and I mean, I don't understand what the big deal is. It doesn't affect you, It doesn't affect anybody,
Thank you.
I mean, we're such a small percentage of people, We're like 4% of the population. What does it matter? Why do you want to just exterminate us? We've been around since Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was bisexual.
There's a rumor that Abe Lincoln was gay.
Yes, that's
he
right.
slept with men for years. One man for 4 years.
That's right. And
got
what does it
suicidal.
matter? What does it matter? I mean, really, what does it matter? I mean, my new video actually is Apex Predator. And one of the things that I wanted to do, of course, was follow the chronology of the song visually. And then, have those visuals in there. I'm also I'm a big fan of American Horror Story Asylum.
Yes.
Love The Walking Dead. So we wanted to use those kinds of anticipatory, thrilling moments in the visuals and things and the way that they build that kind of psychological tension. But I also wanted to do a little bit of subtext in there. And it worked. The idea about the song basically is that Hydra is in love with one of her victims, and she starts to, as the song progresses, she sees how much they're alike, and because this person is also a bad person, and she's got her in a cage, and then as the song progresses, then suddenly Hydra's in the cage looking out, and she's looking at the woman who she just had in here, and then she starts to wonder if all of this is just a figment of her imagination. So visually, we had that sort of that seductiveness between two women going on. And then at the end, you realize that what looks like a sexual act between two women is actually a woman with a gun in her mouth. Now, YouTube flagged my video as inappropriate, not because a woman has a gun in her mouth, but because another woman is loving another woman. And that's what's so insane about our culture and about cultures across the country, is that we reject love and we embrace violence. And I wanted that in there. It was a deliberate subtext because I wanted to challenge those hypocrisies. I wanted to challenge those phobias. And unfortunately, they proved me right, that love is rejected. I think, I had first thought about putting in 2 men, but I thought that'd be just too easy. That's too easy for people to react to. We as a culture, we're much more accepting of 2 women, so I wanted that to be easy on people. But they flagged it for that. Not because there's a woman, with a firearm in her mouth, but because she's loving on another woman. I just think we need to change that. Life is finite. It's so short. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years and they have flown by like that, like that. And I can't get those moments back. I can't get anything back, but all we have even now is just right now, just the now. And so I think, if we just stopped worrying about, trying to legislate morality or push our beliefs onto other people, as long as it's consenting adults and it's love. I mean, why not do that? It's 21st century, for God's sakes. But yes, I do a lot of work with the LGBT community.
So
bringing it back. Do you see that? See how smooth that was? All right.
Okay, so what is your most crazy fan moment? You any
Oh, I mean, we have some of the most passionate and fanatical fans, supporters on the planet, and I don't know. I get to meet so many creative people, and they bring me their artwork, and they bring me, their stories. And I remember I met some people, soldiers who come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and there was one story about a friend of a soldier who died in country, and they were listening to one of my songs when their tank got hit, and that meant a lot to me.
To be the last thing somebody hears.
Yeah, and just that, we had fans over there, and hopefully they knew we always, as vocal as I was against President Bush and what he, did to our country, I was always supportive of the troops, 100% behind them. And, so there's been some really amazing moments. And, seeing a lot of our fans who started listening to us when they were just little kids who are, now bringing their kids, to our shows. I mean, 10 years, that's a long time, and it's great. I mean, I never thought it's the longest thing I ever did in my life, but it's been a remarkable journey, truly.
So over your 10 years, you've had some band changes
Sure.
of people. How was it to adjust to that at first? Was it awkward?
It's hard to say goodbye to people. I mean, it's hard to see them leave. It is, and I think that anybody can understand what that's like to leave. To see somebody go that you've shared intimate moments with, that you were friends with, that you share a stage with. I mean, there's nothing like that. That spiritual intercourse that you share with your band. It's hard to see people go. It's hard to see them move on. It's hard to see them leave and go on with their lives. But that's what they want to do. They want to, they got their own self-interest, their own things that they want to try, and we just keep going. It's what we do. So
how did you meet your members? They've been with you 3 years now, correct?
Mm-hmm. They were in a band that opened for me, and I was really impressed with what they did. So when the other musicians decided to go their own way, I reached out to them and asked them if they had any interest in maybe playing with me, and they did, and it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywhere that you're looking forward to going to at this tour?
We're going to Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about Australia. Yeah. We're going to go to Australia, and then we're going to Mexico City, which is like the most populated city in the world. Yeah. So that's exciting.
I see 5-year-olds drink.
Diego Rivera has his house is there. Frida Kahlo has a museum there. So I'm just excited about that. I'm probably one of the only people that gets excited about going to a museum in Mexico City.
Is that something you try to make a priority for? Is to
if there's something really important there, yeah, I'll try to go in any city if they've got a good art installation or something like a great library. I know, nerd, but I will go. I'll go and check it out. Try. Won't have time, but my days go by so fast.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite books?
Sure, man. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Anything by the amazing Harlan Ellison. Check him out. That man paints with words. He is just amazing. I'm lucky to call him a friend too. He's he's up there with Mark Twain. I mean, this guy's just a brilliant writer, and he was active in the 60s, and he was on Nixon's enemies list. Yeah, he's something else, man. And he's an artist rights activist, and he's written some of the most amazing stories. He's a short story writer, but just, insane. I'm reading Mark Twain, Letters from the Earth. I'm reading Fahrenheit 451, and I'm reading various short stories from Harlan Ellison at the moment.
All at the same time?
Yes.
Do you ever like
That's what I do.
lose your place in that?
No, I just I'll read to a certain point when, and then this, I'll develop
Switch
a little
it
bit of
up.
fatigue, and then I'll move on to the other books. I enjoy it. It's hard to turn the TV off. It's hard to walk away from the phone. Right, it stimulates a part of our brain that really enjoys being active. But when I move on to the fruits of literature, it just does. It's much more enriching. I think much more fulfilling.
Do you have a TV on the bus?
Yeah.
Any movies that you guys brought?
Well, I don't know what they do. I end up watching like MSNBC and the Discovery Channel and all that stuff, Yeah.
How is it being on a bus full of boys?
It's all right, it's a little different. This is probably the most time I spend with surrounded by a lot of guys like that, but we're all great. We're all a bunch of roommates at this point, so we get along. We're like a family. It's good. It's like having a bunch of brothers around all the time. It's cool.
Have you had any like non-supporters of your music show up to your show just to kind of be a hater?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't stick around long though.
No.
Nah.
Fans blow them out of the water.
Yeah, and or they end up becoming fans.
Yeah.
Maybe they that's been the case more often than not. Somebody just wants to come, which I find interesting. You're going to come and spend $15, $20 on a ticket just to tell me you hate me. Sure, okay, whatever you want to do, man. It's your life. But by the end of this, a lot of times they'll say, "Hey, you impressed me. I didn't know what to expect, but wow, great show." So that's always nice to have. People sometimes get the wrong impression, and I respect that. They come and maybe they leave and they still don't like us, but they're respectful about it. Hey, good on you, man. Right on. But usually that rarely happens. Most people they're here because they love the music, they love the message, and they want to come out and support that and celebrate it.
So I know that your album did just come out in January, but are you working toward another one already?
No. This just was written 5 months ago. It just came out like 2 months ago. And
quick.
So yeah, we wrote it in 5 weeks. Wrote, recorded, and mixed, mastered in 5 weeks. So I came off the road, went right in the studio.
Was it like a collection that you had already, or you just
no?
right
I just
away?
wrote. Yeah, I worked with some amazing writers, and we were able to put it together in a really quick way. And I think it's phenomenal. I love this record. I really do. It's one of my most proudest achievements, I think.
All right.
All right.
So anything you want to add?
Thanks for having us. We love Sacramento. Right on.
All right. Bye.
All right.